Hello everyone. So tonight we are going to do the first step of pickling gourds per Gardener's Labyrinth. So in the gourd section, he talks about this. He also talks it a little bit in the cucumber section. But thus by these practices may the owner enjoy fair cucumbers and gourds all the winter to use, which if the gardener will, shall be he also preserved a long time, if while the fruits be tender, he cut them off, and scald them in hot water, and after lay them abroad all night to cool, and bestow them in the morrow in a sharp pickle or brine. So that is what we're going to be doing. I just harvested this whole section or selection of gourds this evening, and we're going to do a quick scald, blanch them after I clean them up a little bit. These smaller ones here that still have the flowers on, I'm going to just kind of snip off the flower and snip off the stem and call it good. These larger ones I'm going to peel first, cut up into chunks, and then scald. And then these are some other little ones here that they're baby bottle gourds. And I'm going to pickle those just on the side. These still taste pretty darn good. They were growing amongst the dipper gourd, and unfortunately I can't quite tell. I'm thinking these are the dipper gourds, and the dipper gourds are just bitter and nasty, so I'm not going to use those, but I will use those. And just a quick little highlight on what the evolution of, or the growth pattern of a gourd. So the gourds have two flowers. There are male and females, and these are the flowers. This is female, and this is male, and these are the ones that would be active tonight if they were still on the plant. The white petals are super fragile and delicate. Very much a key indicator of nighttime pollination, although I've seen plenty of bees all over the flowers in the morning as well. And so, but you can tell the difference between the male and the female by the female has their ovary, or the fruit production part of the plant, underneath the flower, whereas the male just has a little cup to hold the petals. And then if you were to pull the flower apart, the male has pollen parts, while the female has this amazing array of sticky stigma to collect the pollen, to pollinate all of the seeds in here. And you can tell sometimes we don't get really good pollination and the fruit starts to die off. I think these may have died from the cooler temperatures that I'm starting to get this evening. And there were some that I left in the garden that were actually quite yellow and about this stage that were probably a fruit set failure from lack of pollination. And so this is what the flower would look like initially after like the second day. So if this is day 1, this is day 2, and then this would be day 3, and then it progresses to day however many more to really big long things, and they just keep going and going. These I've selected. There's some that are already hard, but these still have a soft skin, and you can tell my fingernails actually breaking the skin of the surface. So those are probably still going to be good for fresh eating. I am still going to peel them though first. Yeah, so let's get going. Alright, so there's most everything sorted. These are way overexposed, sorry about that. So as I was cutting up the little ones, most of them were white in the middle. There were several, though, that were dark brown in the middle. Ugh. So, and as you continue to cut through, they stay brown all the way through. So I don't know if this is bad pollination set or cold temperature. Anyway, some sort of something funky going on with the fruit, and I don't think it's an insect of some sort. But I'm not going to use those. I'm going to stick with the ones that are nice and white on the inside for the small ones. Thankfully, both my little baby bottle-shaped ones turned out to be holding true in the middle, so that's good for those. And then all is well with those larger ones. I'm just using a potato peeler for these. I find them a little bit hard to peel because as you start to peel, especially with the larger ones, they get super slippery and they kind of get hard to hold on to. But other than that, especially when the skin is tender with these younger ones, it just peels off really nicely and easily. So that is, see if I can get this last one, really handy. And you can see like it gets so slippery. It's like peeling an eel. I'm sure there's some trick that I don't know about this, but that's what I'm doing. Still have a few little patches to clean up. Ugh, so slippery. And then when you cut it, ta-da! The super young ones are solid. You can start just to see a few little seeds kind of developing in there, but for the most part, let's see if I can get it to focus better. Yeah, you can kind of start to see the seeds in there just starting to mature. And with these older ones, you can start to see that the seeds really are starting to form up. But they should be good in both stages. And then I am chopping these up into kind of finger thick chunks. The recipe later on, one of the recipes that I want to do for pickling is one that is mentioned in the cucumber section, but holds, they mention it's for gourds as well. And that's to do it in a fennel, marjoram, white wine, and verjuice. I thought that sounded super tasty. And you layer it. And so that's why I'm going to cut them up like that, and hopefully that'll work. So everything's prepped now, and now it's just to blanch in some boiling water. And here we go. A lot of the bitterness of the gourds are in the skin. So I'm going to start with my peeled ones. Just because I don't want a whole lot of... If there is going to be bitterness in the water, I want to save it for the end, which is most likely in the ones that are tiny. So I'm just going to cycle through my chopped up gourds. I don't know, boil them for maybe like 3 minutes or so. And then I'm going to put them on to the towel to dry. We'll see how that goes. And ta-da! They're all parboiled or blanched. And I'm really glad that I cut them as thick as I did. Some of these I cut thinner are actually fairly limp and not doing as well. And I think the more rigid chunks are going to hold up to the pickling solution a little bit better and not be quite such soggy, limp pickles. But we shall see. And then another interesting thing is that these cooked up brilliantly, and they still have their fuzz on them, but at the same time you can just kind of like wipe that fuzz off, and that works really well. The little bottle gourd shaped ones didn't have any fuzz. It was the more Italian type that had them, and so I think I'll just go ahead and do that. So that's kind of a fun thing. These are still a little they have some good rigidity, a nice snap. And they taste nice. It's kind of like a cross between a zucchini and a pumpkin with a little bit more of a slight twang to it almost. And then the parboiled ones, or the peeled ones, they are a vegetable flavor conveyor, kind of like potatoes. They're very neutral, very bland. So once they get into that spiced pickling solution, that should be really fun. And these have a little bit of flavor. So anyway, that's that. I'm going to leave them here for the evening, maybe spread them out a bit more, and then come back in the morning. Ooh, those are still warm. And do the next steps. So, all right. Good night, everybody.